the One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living, and we're going to go old school today. We're gonna do joy, 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 since it's the day after Christmas.
Uh-huh.
And then
You're right.
we're gonna do that. So go ahead and mute yourself, everyone, and then you can sing to the rafters. Everyone except Richard, of course. Richard, you can unmute.
We go. Okay, there we go. All right, good morning, everyone. Here we go. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart, down in my heart, down in my heart. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart, down in my heart to stay. I've got the peace that passes understanding down in my heart. Down in my heart, down in my heart, I've got the peace that passes understanding down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. I've got the life and love of God within me down in my heart. Down in my heart, down in my heart, I've got the life and love of God within me down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart, down in my heart, I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Down in my heart to stay. All right.
All right, thank you. I've got that joy. We did that in our meditation this morning. We sat in joy. Our practitioner of the day is Robert Brown, and I'm going to invite him to do our opening prayer. And he sent me a beautiful quote that I'll share afterwards.
Good morning, everybody, and a very happy day after Christmas. I invite you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just relax where you are. And join me in consciousness. Join me in knowing that there is only one spirit, one mind, one heart, one mind, and we are all one with it, each and every moment. I give great thanks for this opportunity to come together on the day after Christmas 2021. I give great thanks for all the good that has come into our lives during this year. I give great thanks for each and every one of you and for myself for being the best that we can be. It's all good all the time. Thank you, God. I release, I let go, I know it's so, and together we say, and so it is.
So it is.
Let's see, now we have a quote of the day from good old Mr. Holmes, not Sherlock, Ernest Holmes. I think my funny bone was tickled today. So the quote of the day from Ernest: since the only life you can have is the life of the spirit within you, you need but permit its radiance to flow through your thought into self-expression. You are surrounded by a dynamic force, a great surge of living power. You are immersed in and saturated with the vital essence of life. Its presence permeates everything, binding all together in one complete whole. And so it is.
So it is.
And now I'd like to go into silence for a minute or so and contemplate our oneness with the divine and with each other. We are all one. As you keep your eyes closed, repeat with me, in the silence, in the silence, God speaks to me.
God speaks to me.
God speaks to me in the silence of my mind.
God speaks to me in the silence of my mind.
God speaks to me in the silence of my heart.
God speaks to me in the silence of my heart.
God is always speaking to me,
God is always speaking to me,
and we need only listen.
and we need only listen.
So I welcome you out of the silence and back into the room, back into the virtual Zoom room. And let's say together December's affirmation. The inner sanctuary of my soul is filled with divine light. This eternal flame is always available to me. I need only turn my inner gaze to its brilliance. It lights the way in my dark hours. It warms, guides, and supports me always. Within me shines the light of the world, and so it is. Now we'll return for another musical interlude.
Okay, okay. Yeah, here's just a beautiful song, so well put together by Jan Garrett, and it's optimistic. And as we come into a new year, just about, we're almost there. It's one of those "you ain't seen nothing yet" kind of songs. Anything's possible. It's just up to us. We can go as far and up as we want to. It's called Starting with Me. Let's get this thing started. Bless these souls that gather round now, shining through the storm. All the colors of the rainbow, each of us keeping us warm. In my dreams I've seen our faces. We are singing from the heart. In the circle, love embraces each of us just as we are. And we are coming home again, setting our spirits free. And we are reaching out beyond anything we ever thought we could be. So bless these hearts and bless this vision. Bless us where we are. Peace on earth is our decision. Starting right here, beginning right now. I'm the rainbow I've wanted to see. The circle of peace is complete, starting with me. Nice little piano solo there, whoever that is. And we are coming home again, setting our spirits free. We are reaching out beyond anything we ever thought we could be. So bless these hearts and bless this vision. Bless us where we are. Peace on earth is our decision. Starting right here, beginning right now. I'm the rainbow I've wanted to see. The circle of peace is here, starting with me. Starting with me. There's a rainbow over my shoulder. There's a new world under my feet. Bless us all. 2022, here we come.
Thank you, Richard. That's great. I love their music. It was beautiful and perfect too, starting with me. And that's really the only place we can start. So. Oh my goodness. So here we go. Good morning and welcome to the very last Sunday of 2021 and the last Sunday service, online Sunday service of the year for One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Learning. Can't believe it's gone by so quickly. You know, recently I've talked to quite a few people who are really very happy to see 2001 in the rear view mirror. They're just, you know, like, boy, glad that's over. But you know what? I have to admit that while my personal prayer is always for the peace and the health and the prosperity of everyone, and I certainly don't want to deny or trivialize any of the hardships or the losses or the suffering that so many people have gone through over this last year, actually the last couple of years. I still think that 2021, really 2020 as well, is an important and a very pivotal time for us as human beings. You know, I think it's been a time of great learning and growth for us, both individually and collectively. And in some ways, I would even go so far as to say that it has actually paved the way for us so that we can move forward and create a different kind of world. You know, I'm optimistic, and I believe in one of the statements written by Ernest Holmes, our founder, in the Declaration of Principles. And the one line that I remembered as I was preparing the message this morning was this: we believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete, emancipation from all discord of every nature. And this goal is sure to be attained by all. A complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and sure to be attained by all. Now, I don't know if Thomas was referring to while we're on this planet or afterwards or both, but I truly believe this is true and possible. And I pray that I see it here on planet Earth as a demonstration during my lifetime. I really do. And I know that it's possible using these spiritual principles that we teach and live by. You know, when you think about it, 2021 has really given us an opportunity to clean out some old stuff, you know, and to make space for some new stuff, better stuff. The last year has highlighted for us things we don't always want to look at, you know, not only because of COVID, but because of the extreme divisions that we see in our country and really the world right now. You know, lots of issues are right up in our face, you know, and the artificial divisions that we create and continue to create because of our fears and our insecurities about our differences, a fear of not enoughness, you know, there's only so much of the pie to go around and I'm going to get mine before it's all gone. The past year has highlighted for us how we tend to focus on the things that separate us rather than what unites us. And it's really shown us the ways in which we judge and disregard each other. So having given you all the bad news, the really good news about all this is that I see many of us who are answering the call for a dramatic shift. Everybody's being called and so many people are stepping up and answering that call. And we're wanting to create a shift from seeing the world from the perspective of separation to seeing a world of oneness, seeing the inherent unity that underlies everything. You know, I see people who are purposefully exploring ways to answer the call of change. You know, I know that many of us in our spiritual communities have already begun to make this powerful shift, you know, in the way that we see each other, in the way that we treat each other, in the ways that we show up in the world. Many of us have already begun to see the world from our oneness, unity, and wholeness. And our contributions are powerful, even if they're not always perfect, because I am not always perfect at doing this, but to the best of my ability, I am all in. And, you know, as more and more of us are willing to see our connection and to experience everything that rises up in front of us, both individually and collectively, we begin to recognize that all the experiences we had, and I think this is really important, we begin to recognize that all the experiences we've walked through over the last year or so have been perfect. Not necessarily comfortable, but perfect for what is needed in the world right now. Because everything that we've walked through has moved us along the path of our spiritual evolution and has offered us really a powerful opportunity to begin healing anything that needs to be healed in our collective consciousness. And there's lots of things in there that could use a little healing. And as we do this, you know, it draws us into a deeper connection with our source, with God, Spirit, whatever name you want to give it, and with each other, the God that we see all around us, in each other and in all life. You know, our deepest collective shadows are rising up, and they want our full attention right now. You know, and as this happens, and we recognize them, old structures and old systems that aren't sustainable anymore begin to fall away, and they're being highlighted for us. And I believe that this is the bridge, the start, the movement towards a new harmony and a new balance and a sustainable order is being born. And the good news is, again, that we get to usher it in. we get to answer that call. We're all being called together to find some new way of being in the world together, ways that are inclusive and ways that honor our natural world, the world order, ways that support an equity and a balance of peace and prosperity and opportunity for everyone, not just for those who have in the past been blessed with the most resources and opportunities. You know, we're being called to truly live the parable of the Good Samaritan, to see through our eyes into the soul of each and every person and their divinity in the face of whatever seems to be in the way of that. Any appearances, outside appearances or influences don't matter when we can see into the soul and the divinity of everyone. You know, and we are so blessed. We are so blessed to have the spiritual principles and the tools of science of mind to help us facilitate this shift. And in today's message suggests that we are ushering in the light of a new dawn. I love that title, the light of a new dawn. So what is it that Science of Mind teaches us that will help us with this? The most important thing, in my estimation, that Science of Mind teaches is that we are marvels of creation, that we are divinity made flesh. It seems so big and it's so true. Or in keeping with the story of Christmas, that we are the embodiment of the Christ, or God in humankind. And as we awaken to this divinity, the good, more and more, we bring it into our humanity in new ways. We live our divine nature in our human lives. And this is the foundational principle of our Science of Mind teaching. And it opens the door to everything that's possible for us as human beings. And this is the way, I believe, that we contribute to the shift from a belief in separation to living our oneness in all areas of our human life. You know, Ernest Holmes reminds us over and over again how empowered we are. That wonderful quote we just read from Robert, he told us, you know, you're it, guys. You know, and the more we realize this, the more we can live it. And I have another quote that suggests the same thing. I love this quote. Okay. The indwelling God is the greatest single factor in our whole lives. What? The indwelling God is the greatest single factor in our whole lives. It means that there is nothing between us and God. There is no intermediary. There is no place to go to find God. God always exists in the midst of us. And if we would try to seek him elsewhere, it would be like God trying to hunt for himself. It would be like us looking somewhere else to find the divine, because that's who we are. We are the divine presence. There's only one life. And the self-discovery of this indwelling God, that is the adventure of our lifetimes. It's what this incredible journey of life is all about. Connecting, experiencing, expressing our divinity throughout the span of our entire human lives, you know, and it's fresh and new every day if we let it be. And so it's still officially the holiday season. It's only, as Robert pointed out, the day, or Richard too, it's only the day after Christmas. I'm going to use the Christmas story to help bring this idea to life. You know, the idea that we are the divine incarnate and the Christ consciousness is born and reborn every time we do something that is in alignment with love. So I'm just going to preface it a little bit by saying that, you know, we as human beings are storytellers. You know, stories help bring spiritual principle to life. You know, I read somewhere that there's a Jewish proverb that says God so loved stories that he invented people. I think that's really true. We love our stories. You know, and throughout history, storytellers would often begin their stories with introductions, or maybe I should say disclaimers like, now I don't know if this really happened, or I don't know if this is really true. No, I don't know if this really happened, but I do know that it's really true. The story is true. So letting us know that the facts of the story weren't nearly as important as the underlying truth or the message of the story, the truth that just lies beneath the surface, the facts. You know, timeless truths are, excuse me, are contained within many different styles of teaching stories. You know, stories like Aesop's fables, which I love. I used to love to tell to my kids when I was a teacher, or Jesus's parables. The facts aren't as important as the wisdom beneath the facts. And these stories become living stories applicable to us today as we're living when we hear them in this way. So let's look at the timeless truth and wisdom in the Christmas story. So Christmas, as you all know, is the Christian celebration of the birth of Jesus. And unless you've been living under a rock for most of your life or never watched a Charlie Brown Christmas special, I'm sure that you are familiar with the traditional story of the birth of Jesus. You know, it simply is Joseph and Mary were betrothed, and before they had known each other in the biblical sense, Mary found herself to be with child. Joseph, well, surprised, agreed to marry Mary anyway. And when it was nearly time for Mary to give birth, they had to travel to Bethlehem. I keep thinking there had to have been a different way, but you know, they had to travel to Bethlehem to participate in a census. And the story goes that when they arrived in Bethlehem, there was no room in the inn, and baby Jesus was born in a stable at the edge of town. And there was a guiding star and shepherds and the magi, and they all showed up to celebrate the birth of Jesus together. So the Christmas story becomes a living story for us when we understand that regardless of our social, cultural, or religious belief, that everything in the story is us, is an aspect of us. The star, the angels, the shepherds, the wise men, Jesus, Mary, Joseph are all aspects of us on our personal journey to Bethlehem. And we've all traveled through some really unexpected and uncertain times lately, which makes the story all the more relatable. So the Christmas story is the story. The Christmas story is the story of our yearning to know who we really are and to express that in our lives. It's the story of the awakening of the divine within us, the birth of the Christ consciousness within us. And as I said, either earlier today or another talk, I don't remember, the Christ, as Holmes says, is the idea of the divine within humankind. Holmes said that each of us embodies the Christ to the degree that we recognize our divine heritage. He called it the sonship. I like to call it the son and daughtership. I don't want to leave anybody out. So here's how I come to interpret the Christmas story from my own personal perspective. Joseph represents the aspect of mind. Both divine mind and human mind, our intellect, our logic, our wisdom, our intuitive knowing mind. Mary represents the heart of life, the way we feel, our emotions and our states of being, things like the experience of peace and compassion, connection, love. And it's the blending of these two aspects of mind and heart that create the perfect place, the perfect environment for the birth of the Christ consciousness. Science of mind teaches that it is our conscious thought coupled with how we feel or a state of being that creates the perfect environment to bring about our answered prayers, our demonstrations, because it is both mind and heart that create the environment for creation, for the divine to express itself. And that, I think, is what this story, the Christmas story, is really telling us. And then, of course, Joseph and Mary travel to Bethlehem, which literally, the word Bethlehem means house of bread or house of the living. And it symbolizes the place within each of us that sustains us, our daily bread, the source of life. Even when the outside world tells us there's no room at the end, no soft place to rest, to lay down, we can always find Bethlehem within us. It is that coming together of wisdom, of love, of heart and mind that creates that Bethlehem within us. We are the house of the living. There's always room, even though it might not always look exactly like we think it will look. It might be a stable rather than an inn. Bethlehem is the place where this wisdom and love are unified and the Christ consciousness is born. Our journey to Bethlehem is not about a place, really, about a state of consciousness within our own being. Our thoughts are the language of our mind, and our feelings are the language of our heart, and the blending of these come together within our subjective mind, which activates love. We know that. And when we embody the thoughts of the divine and ground them in the feelings of the divine within us, we give birth to the divine within us, the Christ consciousness. And you know what? A new birth of Christ consciousness happens every time we realize who we are as spiritual beings. Every time we express love, this is the Christ made flesh. This is the meaning of the Christmas story, that we can live and relive the birth of the Christ within us. You know, when we create Bethlehem within us, our thoughts and feelings are in alignment with the divine. We can be certain of the continued birth and rebirth of the Christ consciousness. It guarantees it. And it only really requires our openness to the divine wisdom that is always pouring through us if we just recognize it. And that pure heart of love, that's all it takes to give birth to the Christ idea, the presence of the divine within man. Wisdom of mind and the heart of love take us to Bethlehem. And then, of course, there's the shepherds, which remind us that we're not alone on our journey. And the Magi tell us there's always wisdom, order, and light available to us when we listen and follow our own guiding star. And the animals, well, they can represent for us that there is life everywhere, that it's all one, that we are a part of a greater and grander harmony and balance and scheme and order, and intelligent order. So our metaphysical trip to Bethlehem is, well, it's kind of like the dance between our divinity and our humanity. I always like to say we walk that fine like razor's edge between our divinity and our humanity. We live in the house of the living, and the mind of Joseph, the heart of Mary, they come together, they're enjoined in a beautiful blending of wisdom and love. And it's a reminder that our lives and ultimately the world can be changed, can transform by the power of a loving heart and the action of the wisdom of divine mind. And it just takes our awareness of it. So as we begin to understand that the world has been going through a giant garage sale, getting rid of everything we no longer need to take with us on the next house we're moving into, to Bethlehem, then we can travel forward with a sense of faith and certainty, no matter how things look in the outside world. And sometimes they can look crazy when we aren't grounded in that place of Bethlehem. So how do we apply the timeless truths that are embedded in the Christmas story? How do we apply them in our own lives? How is this a living story for us as we move into 2022 and beyond, really? Well, we practice creating a place for the birth of Christ consciousness every day. That's what we do. We practice creating that sacred space. And then we use it as an avenue through which we expand and express the divine in all of our human activities, both physical, spiritual, and in our physical world. We view everything we see as an invitation to bring spirit to life, to bring the Christ consciousness to life. You know, when we see unwanted things, when we have unwanted experiences, we simply see them as road signs to Bethlehem. And if we're uncomfortable and, you know, it doesn't feel good, it's an invitation to go within and nurture that safe space again. Everything in our lives is an invitation to bring mind and heart together to create the environment in which spirit, God, the divine, the Christ consciousness can come to life. You know, that's how we do it. We dedicate ourselves to our daily spiritual practice. You know, if I don't do that, I know I am in trouble. I have to always do that every single day. And it's a means of realizing and embodying the divinity within me, my own divinity, and to make a safe and quiet space within me that I can always go to, you know, that I can always go back to when I feel troubled. You know, and then we have a place to go to align with the awareness of the Christ consciousness within us, or as Ernest Holmes put it, to realize there is nothing between us and God. And to realize there is no greater or less, that we are all within the greater. It is all the same. And our ability to recognize the more is simply in our acknowledgement that we are more. So we take that conscious awareness out into the world, into all of our human affairs, our relationships, our work, our finances, our health, in everything. We see the presence of spirit, the presence of love, the presence of peace, the presence of compassion. I love to say that whatever is missing in any situation, we are empowered to bring it, because that's who we are. We're creators and meaning makers. So I read somewhere a long time ago, Holmes said this. He said, "We are the only begotten sons and daughters of God. We are it. We are the living birth of the Christ consciousness." I love that. And it's true. We're the living embodiment of the coming together of Joseph, the wisdom of mind, and Mary, the heart of love, in Jesus, the divine presence of God in all of humanity, in all life, really. The coming together of wisdom and love is the human experience. That's it. That's who we are. We belong to the family of life in every way, spiritually, physically. And we've sprung from the God consciousness, you know, and our bodies were created from stardust. We belong to everything. We are everyday and common and ordinary, and we are unique and special and extraordinary in every single way, because we are the light of the world. That's who we are. We are human and we are divine. And let's pray. Taking in a nice deep centering breath, we call into our conscious awareness the presence of love, the presence of wisdom, the presence of safety and order and wisdom. The bigness, the grandness of peace and compassion, and all that exists within the infinite divine mind. And we know that we are a part of that infiniteness of divine mind, that we are one with it. We cannot be anything else, for all there is God, and we are it. We are the bigger. There's a wonderful song that says, "I want to be big for God." Well, we are big for God, because we are God. So I claim and accept a shift in consciousness and openness, like crossing the threshold into the fresh new. I claim for that for everyone that's on this call and everyone that is not. I claim it for our beloved One Heart, One Mind spiritual family and all of its extensions. I claim it for our wonderful United States of America. I claim it for the world and for the universe, that there is a new opening and a new way of being that recognizes who we are, that recognizes that we are the allness, the inseparable nature of the one life. And we allow that to inform through our thoughts and our hearts and our feelings, the embodiment of how we want to feel and be and experience our humanity. For it is the expression, the full and total expression of the divinity that is us, that is life. Thank you, God, for this new way of being, this new opening, this new shift as we move forward into 2022 and beyond. I am so grateful for the spiritual wisdom and the spiritual tools in which to apply the love, the wisdom, the presence of the divine in every way. So I just give thanks for this. I just relax and know that it is already so, for we are empowered by who we are. Relax in this. I know all is well. And together we signify our agreement by saying, and so it is. So, Maureen, it looks like you are doing the benediction for us today. I don't know if you want to do the announcements or if you want to pass it over to Robert. Either way is just fine. Or we're going to do the, I'm sorry, not the announcements, the.
She'll do the
I'll do the benediction.
offertory.
Oh, I'm doing the offertory.
Yeah, she'll do the offertory.
Are.
and I'll do the announcement.
That sounds perfect. Thank you, Maureen. I'm going to mute myself.
We have our saying. Michelle is muted. You're muted, Michelle.
Sorry about that. I forgot to put up the slide. Bad. There we go. There we go.
All right. Well, this is about ways to get to one heart, one mind. And I want to remind you of the law of circulation, how important it is to give and keep that flow going, because it's all energy. And so the ways you can do it, I do it through Venmo. And you can also mail a check to Jim Massapist. And the address is in the chat. So would you say with me, we have a little saying here. If Michelle brings it up, yes. Yes. And just visualize your gift from your heart. Put your hand on your heart. Take a big breath and just say this. I recognize that all supply flows from the divine givingness of spirit. My gift is a continuation of this divine flow. I give and receive from this infinite supply. I give in faith, in love, and in joy. And it flows back to me in kind. And so it is. Thank you all for giving.
And then we'll do the benediction or do the benediction.
Yeah, I'll do the announcements. And we have a couple. First of all, we have our regular regular Monday evening prayer for the center, which takes around 20 minutes or so, and it's basically a silent prayer with each person praying in their hearts. Then on Wednesday, we have a special treat. We have Rabbi David Zaslav, who is speaking on the topic of Jesus, the first century rabbi, because those of us who know, and that's most of us here, know that Jesus was in fact a rabbi. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to speak in the temple, because only rabbis could speak in the temple. And he's going to tell us about some of the mistakes that have been made in the historical accounting of what went on in those days, and how they've been a bit distorted by some of the organized religions over the last 2 millennia, and give us a new insight into that person now known as Jesus, who at that time's name was Yeshua ben Joseph. And that's all that's happening this week with One Heart, One Mind, except for next Sunday's service. But I would like to tell you about something that's happening down here. We're going to have a burning bowl ceremony on New Year's Eve. I don't know right now whether it's going to be Zoomed or not, or Facebook Live or not, or whatever it might be. But as soon as I find out, and if it's going to be Zoomed, I will send Michelle a link so that she can share it with all the One Heart, One Mind people who might want to participate in the burning bowl ceremony.
That would be really nice if it was.
Yeah, I hope it is. I might have been told, but I can't remember whether it's going to be broadcast or not. But I will find out.
Okay.
We'll be seeing people this week, and Robin Morgan and Maureen and I are going to have our own private burning bowl ceremony before they go back, and just in case it's not Zoomed or they can't make it to it. So that concludes the announcements, and I guess turn it over to Maureen for the benediction.
Yes. Well, if you'd all join me again, if you want to close your eyes, please feel free. This is our time of the benediction, which in Latin means good word. So the good word for today is gratitude for everything that has come before. I want to thank Richard for that wonderful song. I still feel the light blazing within and the rainbow on my shoulder and the new world under my feet. And thank you, Michelle, for reminding us again of who and what we are, the divinity within, and the peace on earth. And I love that quote about the release of all discord. This is our time to step into that new year, that new beginning, that new birth of the baby within, into a new and glorious now. So we release the old, we bless it. And I bless 2021 for all the presence and all the understanding and all the opportunities and gifts that it has given. So I release 2021. I step into the new. I give great gratitude for our continuing family. And thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for the indwelling divine. So I release, I let go. I know it's so. And together we say, and so it is. Oh, and thank you, Robert, for the great quote.
Thank you both. That was wonderful. And now we're going to go old school again. We're going to end with the peace song. You got to close out the year with the peace song. I mean, really, you got it. All right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With love as our power, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, There is peace on earth, and it has begun with me. Blessings to everyone.
Thank you, Richard. That was great. Woo. Wow, we have